What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. Today we're going to look at m0NESY's LAN match debut. His first game he's played as a Tier 1 player on a Tier 1 team in a LAN match in front of a crowd in a playoffs at a flagship event of the year, IEM Katowice 2022. This is where all the m0NESY haters got their popcorn out. They were drooling. They were drenched in G Fuel. They were readying up all of their tweets, and they were just ready to tell everybody how they knew this kid was going to choke, and he didn't. He dropped 45 kills in his opening LAN match, and as we were about to see in this demo, was a huge part of basically every round. So we're watching CT side Mirage, which is a map that we knew G2 were going to keep in their pool. They strengthen it by having FPL god m0NESY, who spent 11% of his entire life playing Mirage Pugs, and then have Alexibu, who comes from OG, where that was their home map as well. So this is one where they're trying to cure their issue where they choke a lot on Mirage. They still did on the final, of course, as with G2 always do. So they've still got some work to do, but a great debut nonetheless. Honestly, a fantastic demo. Wicked shots to watch, lots to talk about. Hope you enjoy it. All right, let's get into the match. m0NESY, he's the guy who listen, he wasn't the best player on G2, and he didn't win Kato, okay? But he's 16, so give him a break. Oh my god, he got that gush. All right, so this is m0NESY's LAN debut. This is match actually Scrawny was casting with Sponge. The funny story about this was that ESL actually asked me to cast the playoffs, part of the playoffs, because I guess because Machine couldn't make it, there were some complications, and I wanted to do it, but they asked me to come for groups, and I was like, cool, I'll come for groups. And then at the same time, G4 TV asked me to come down to LA to do a post show, ironically, for Katowice. So I ended up leaving after groups to go to the post show in California. I went a few days early, saw a few friends and stuff like that. So but I was supposed to be doing at least one stage match with Scrawny, but he ended up doing it with Sponge, and they killed it. They were awesome. They sounded great together, and as long as the show's good, that's all we really care about. So that was really fantastic to watch. But I didn't actually get to watch the game live. I had to watch the VOD. I caught this second map, I believe. I didn't get Mirage. I just saw people talking about how m0NESY was going crazy. And again, put it in your mind right now. You've got crowd noise going on, okay? This is the debut for m0NESY at an S tier event on stage in front of a crowd. I don't know if it's his first crowd ever. I think it is. And it's playoffs. What I'm trying to say is pressure is at its maximum in this match, and m0NESY, by stats, played extremely well. Now, over the event, I just looked at his last month. Not only has he clearly, by watching, been a great player on the team, but his stats drop off versus the weaker teams. His stats go up versus the better teams they play against. He's got like 7 maps in the last month versus top 5 competition, and that's where his highest ratings are. So that's already a really fantastic sign. What'll be cool about watching this game on CT side is to see, how he plays his spots. He's going to have a lot of freedom, but this is a Mirage demon, okay? This kid has played like 11% or 20% of his entire waking life, or even more, playing Counter-Strike. And you better believe about 90% of that 20% is in Face It, right? It's on Face It Pugs. And where do 90% of 20% of those games end up on? Mirage. That's quick maths for you. So why would you ever play against m0NESY on Mirage? I have no idea. But for G2, they're loving it, because this is a map that they have always struggled to win on. It's the funny map that Nexa, when he was calling for the team, would always pick into Mirage. They play Mirage, and G2, they have tons of close games, but they lost. And kind of... Oh, he doesn't go up top. Okay. Who's that? Okay. All right. So him and Alexi both kind of play around mid. When Alexi's in connector, on OG, excuse me, he was playing in connector, bouncing around, and there's a lot of freedom. So this should be a fun game to watch, for the reason that, you could be a window player, but kind of how it's gone is at the beginning of the, years ago, people used to play in window and they just go window every round. Then people learned how to smoke middle and counter a lot towards mid. People figured out the top mid smoke, and then you had to go for a few different variations. Now the cool part is that now, oh, he saw a head there, I think. The cool part is that you still can sometimes just run into window and find a frag at the top of mid. And you can pre-molly the window as well if they try to pre-smoke window and they don't go for the top cat smoke and punish them that way. And so there are a lot of mind games now because there's counterplay for the CT side as well. But overall, I think most of the meta on Mirage has developed towards mid, as it naturally would for the T side. And that's meant that it's really unsafe a lot of the times to hang out in middle, in window, in connector, and you have to deal with a lot of utility, especially Molotovs. From the T side, mollying the top of connector after they smoke it to clear out the inside. There's a lot of small gaps where you can re-aggress in different moments. So you can see in a moment like this, you know, m0NESY knows that window's probably going to get smoked, but there is a chance that they do burst mid, and there is also a chance that they make a mistake. There is obviously the very small chance as well that they don't smoke window, and this is around where we've got virtus.pro saving. So, you know, a few good reasons to take a mid window spawn and just like the old days, just swing on it. And he went for the workbench peak. I always call it the bench peak, but right now m0NESY's aiming for the boost out of underpass on both sides and just kind of being aware. But you see how m0NESY flicks around right there? It's an anxiety-inducing position with the connector in the place that it is, depending on where your air players are. So just depending on where your air players are standing, it can pressure you out of this position inside of the jungle, which, although it's a nice line towards window, you have to worry about a connector lurk. So that's something you've got to be kind of vigilant about. Wow, really, honestly, some great shots already here from m0NESY. 1280 by 960. He plays on a white super light, so he just like me for real. And he's on ZywOo's sense. People say he's on ZywOo's sense and ZywOo's resolution. 1280 by 960 simple resolution, okay? I don't want to hear it. ZywOo was born like 3 years ago. Simple's been playing on the resolution since I was in diapers, okay? So that's Simple's resolution, ZywOo's sensitivity. And that's how you get m0NESY right there. So I think I don't think you can go wrong on 1280 by 960. I'm gonna be honest. It's the top res. I play on native and I have to recognize that 1280 by 960 is the GOAT res. Facts are facts. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So in the academy, I've talked about the storyline to death, but something about m0NESY that I've wanted to keep an eye on for his kind of G2 debut and games versus the tier 1s is looking for more opening kills, because in the academy league he'd kind of sit in a place and nobody flashed him properly, so he'd just sit there and farm. Like, he didn't miss. So if he sat in jungle watching the cross to A site, he'd always find opening kills somehow, because the other team would make mistakes. They'd fail to scale fast enough, and then their smokes would come up, and then they have openings. But as we now get to higher level competition, there's going to be less grenades being missed. There's going to be more layers to attacks, and there's going to be less gaps. And so for m0NESY, one thing that definitely needed to happen was that he needs to be used a touch more aggressively. Like, I don't think he needs to be pushed to the nth degree, but I think it would make sense for him to play a touch more aggressively. G2 team as a whole is leaning aggressive, I think, with oh, no way, hit that. Oh man, that's crazy. Man, it's just so aware. So yeah, the connector split was coming on. It's combined with a ramp play, and that could have come out of Palace, but m0NESY spent so much time in Palace just now, he wasn't super concerned about it. I'm gonna say there's not a chance for him to win this round. What an insane shot, man. This kid is actually frying. There is also the argument that, you know, maybe he doesn't have to be that aggressive. And I'm going to do a Broky demo because he was the MVP of Kato. Well deserved. It's actually such a strong MVP when you look at the series of matches that he has. All the ratings that he had were unbelievable, honestly. And I think I have a suspicion, and I want to change the story in my head around Broky, where I kind of was like, initiative is his big problem. Yeah, he's getting some stats, but sometimes he's not having impact. And maybe I'll save it. I'll save it for the I'll save it for the demo. I think it's going to be an interesting story to tell. Man, these shots are so quick. Back and forth though. Buster gets his revenge. Let's keep going forward. Back on the op. Palm tree flash. It's not a great flash, but it is something that can help if, again, teams make a small mistake. So you see this gap that Jax makes. m0NESY did a little video on this where they molly the A ramp and then they smoke to the left. So the idea is, yeah, if you're sitting there watching it, you can see the gap. But if you're standing behind A ramp and you hear them re-smoke the molly, then you don't know that there's a gap. So they listen to that. They might be disarmed a bit, and then they come and peek you. That's the idea behind the tactic. Now, one of the problems may be that because if you hear this, you might get a read on the setup if you're virtus.pro, and then you'd be able to kind of suss out the situation. One big problem for Jax was that for some reason, every single round in that final on Mirage, he was playing under balcony. And to be fair, he was one of the better players on the team playing the same spot every round. But it's never a good idea to simply play the same spot every single time, even if it's a very strong spot. But this position is very dynamic, and the reason is because, yeah, you're like exposed to all this stuff in the back, but you have a good angle versus Palace if you need to, and you can also push into the A ramp. So with this smoke coming down, that helps out m0NESY a lot. It's going to be hard for them to try to refrag, but he's aware of it. But it looks like they're up connector. It looks like there was a gap in the setup, actually. They had not much mid presence and the double A ramp setup, and there was already a guy up connector. So this was a good round to A split, and they really punished G2 here for these positions. So I wouldn't be surprised if virtus.pro win this round at this point, but let's see. Maybe get some Nico magic. No, not quite. All right, let's take a look at the move now. See, so there's a moment where they smoke window, but James swings mid instantly. So again, you've just got to keep it in mind that someone can swing just like the old days. So just like the old days without any nades and take a risk on a spawn. The CT spawn is a little bit better, but only the best ones. So that's also a gamble where if you think the T spawn, if you don't think the Opper, if you're going to take the risk the Opper doesn't have the best T spawn, then you can go for that swing. But situation like that, James takes his risk. It ends up being the right one. And as we saw, you know, near the end of 1.6, which I played Pugs and I played a lot of KZ back then, but I didn't really watch much Pro CS. But from what I understand, as the maps got more and more figured out, they became more spawn-based as well. And that's just because with all of the different, you know, the assortment of opening tactics that you could try and all of the counters involved, it became a game of rock, paper, scissors with what you could get away with. And then one of the only true advantages that you had for sure in the pocket was knowing that if you had a certain spawn, you would definitely be better no matter what happened. And I think that's kind of what we see happening to Mirage. But I'll give it to Mirage, man. A very dynamic map despite that. This corner gap is also very important because the top cat smoke will land closer to the lip of cat and leave an opening on the other side. It's a bit of an optical illusion because from m0NESY's perspective, of course, it looks like the entire thing's smoked. And most people know that, but I thought I'd just bring it up. And now we're just kind of waiting for that crouch peek, crawl. Of course, we're going to be aware of the thought that top con can be smoked and the molly can come right after to try to put some pressure. And here they throw the molly first, and oh, a quick idea from m0NESY. He's going to check this. No one's there. It goes for a pre-fire, actually. Yeah, so there's a moment where he trusts his intuition, always a great sign. He might be safe from the molly spread. And we'll see, he actually didn't dive into windows, so now he's in a spot to actually fight this. And we don't know if they're going to trust this molly, but he's a little bit worried. Wow. Very, very good decision-making, you know, for m0NESY. He's pushing the round forward, constantly making decisions, realizing where he gets a gap. How many people do you know would have just trained on that smoke on the corner and waited for an opportunity, not see anything? And the problem with sitting there was that if someone swung on stairs and he was looking at Palace, he's dead. So he had a moment, but he didn't overthink it. Oh, James. How tall is James? What the hell? Oh my god. What a scary man James is. Another good one here. And G2 pull off the recovery, so it's a quick save from virtus.pro. Some really good decisions being made here. We can see over the top of this. Oh, they go for the boost. He'll get out of there quickly. Saw 2 pairs of feet. And now here m0NESY doesn't have to worry about Palace because the run out is being watched from CT spawn. The spot is very common for an Opera. You think it's so close. Like, what's the big advantage? Well, the shadows you can see on the A ramp will help you out. And people will oftentimes over shoulder peek. They, won't know about it. If he was going against Gambit, he had to clear this right corner because they like to drop into the ramp on the right side. And let's say you're holding this angle, someone drops in on the right side of the ramp from above, then suddenly you could swing on that, but someone might peek you from the left, and then it gets very risky. So that's an interesting way to put some pressure on the op close A ramp that Gambit like to do. But some of the plays you make, they're specific to the teams you play against, right? You're playing against tendencies. All these players are very good. The main disadvantage is people who are not aware enough about their tendencies. Everyone's got them. Everyone's got them. A-ramp volley. Looking down in case the op is on A-ramp, takes a blind shot. And this same smoke, now the smoke, oh, the leg as well. So the smoke, of course, if they smoke top cat, molly into con, you're standing over top of it, then you can drop that smoke preemptively. You don't want to drop the smoke after the molly comes, because if you drop the smoke after the molly comes, you won't be able to shoot, right? They're going to see the smoke plume, and then you pull out your gun and shoot, and it's already too late. So it's really important to... It's important to not be afraid. Don't be too stingy with your resources for certain ideas, especially when it comes to securing that 5v4. So go for the jump peek. m0NESY doesn't bite on it. And they get a flash assist. One in Apex. Peeks too wide. And we're just looking for a helmet. We're already in a we're just a winning position. Okay, a winning position here. There's basically everybody is safe to go for a one and done. Nobody's close A ramp. No one needs a rescue team to come and get them. They can just play for themselves. And Jax will move over to default smartly. Sandwich is not a great position to be in. It's great when you have a player advantage, but it's not where you want to be to try to multi-frag. And, you got to kind of get lucky on whether or not they clear you, whether or not they molly you. And Jax will go down. Let's see if m0NESY can pick up the pieces. He'll get smacked up. Oh, what a beautiful shot. So quick with it, man. He didn't even die off that. And it looks like the plant will come down back triple. m0NESY will pop up. And now it's just, it's all about that retreat from the back of triple. Another great shot. Beautifully played by m0NESY, man. Wow. Amazingly done. I think he even got the first tag. So if someone plants back triple right here, a really good option from CT spawn is to jump up on ticket. If they fake it, then they can, they'll kill you if you jump up on CT. But you saw m0NESY actually waited to make sure it was planted first. And in that moment where it's guaranteed, or you hear the bomb gets planted, then you can jump up on ticket knowing that they can't shoot you. And then you have the power position. You can wait for them to peek. You have the strong angle. And then there's a second, just to get really specific, a second later, they could peek the left side of triple, or they could wait and then peek the right side. But it's still kind of, again, it's a strong option. It's not an ace in the hole. It's not a guaranteed kill, but it's a very strong option, especially if you've got someone else with you. Because the only way for someone to get back from the back of triple is to slowly walk back towards Sandwich, towards Tetris, and then make that jump towards A ramp or tuck into Tetris, right? So it's kind of like you have a position where you can get a kill before it's too late, or catch them, or keep them in that spot without letting them get to a better position. Remember, you wait too long. I mean, you give someone too strong of a 1v1 sometimes, so you're always making these mental trade-offs. Do I want to play off the audio? Do I want to play off my known position? How far away is this bomb that's getting planted in a 1v1? Wow. Another well-timed opportunity capitalized upon by m0NESY, and he'll also get the safe retreat out of middle. All right, let's see how he deals with the smokes. Looked like he was turning from a flash there. They're walking up now. Let's see if he takes the peek. The flash is perfect from them, and he just escapes. Alexi B handles it. And there was just too much info here for G2. They were very prepared Oh, they finally deal with them. That's good. virtus.pro are a tricky team, man, for sure. Honestly, I feel like I got to go back and watch the VOD from this game. It's some nasty rounds. Pretty exciting stuff. This one goes to OT. I'm not going to go watch the entire OT because when we switch over T-side, CD side, and it's like 17 more rounds or something like that. So pretty much a full match, but this is already pretty quality. We've seen some great stuff. Okay, this is a round solo B. Ooh, looking for the peek. Takes a quick one. Very careful about that incendiary. Takes a step back to make sure it doesn't get trigonometried, as Roka would say, and hit the wall. Very sharp, man. Very, very slippery guy, m0NESY. So quick with it. I swear there was that round when he was sitting in CT spawn where it was actually just his pure speed that allowed him to stay alive. With Jame watching CT spawn from Apex and m0NESY killing the planter. He's kind of Westbrook in this round. But maybe he'll Gretzky it as well, you know what I'm saying? This is dangerous. He knows, I don't know. I think Jame is still alive. Something he's got to be aware of. So just coordinating with that molly, making sure somebody's watching it. And this looks like a dive plant situation. Yeah, he's going to give it a shot. Kicker immediately spams him down. So we get a tied game. Going to assume. Yeah, it is. Kicker deals with them all. Okay. T timeout gets called. Let's see what the idea is. Very defaulty style here from virtus.pro. Not too much in the way of execs. And actually, the same opening play for m0NESY. He's got very good pathing when it comes to his opening plays. When he pushes A apartments on Inferno, I think that's where you see his movement really come into play. You see how he does everything exactly the same way every round. When he goes for his opening tactics, how he jumps on things, can all the way down to his button presses. They're pretty much identical every time. And it's not hard to do. It's just something consistently that is important. I guarantee you it nets him a couple of extra shots every time he lands in the exact same spot, right when it T peaks, because he's totally in his comfort zone. Nailed the movement. Now, if I was holding this window, I might hold it a bar extra wide. He's so quick. He's really good at catching them come through B apartments. But he is worried about Jame. Knowing virtus.pro, they like boost peak this. I'll see if they get into OT themselves. I don't know if virtus.pro bring this back. Okay, 3v3. Okay, 2-on-2. And they have a big flank from A ramp, so Alexi's going to get one here, yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, through missiles. Dude, I was just thinking that. Wow, I thought that was actually low. No, it was right on. Jesus. See, that's the Westbrook into the Gretzky, right? You brick everything, but then you also miss every shot you don't take. So, a beautiful kill in that 1v1. That's a crowd pleaser. And if you didn't miss that first shot, you would have been even less impressed with him. You know what I mean? Even though he missed the sitter there. And when you go through the window and you want to B-hop out of the window and you crouch into it, you have to do a long scroll. So we saw m0NESY just do that. If you do that properly, you can go flying. He's got Buster cornered, but I don't know. Oh! Okay, that was a heater. I shot Buster. This m0NESY didn't have head armor there. I don't know if the money was low. All right. Oh, and that brings it to overtime. I think we got... Maybe we can watch 4 more CT rounds here because we doesn't switch over. Yeah, why don't we do that? This one gets tied up, but let's just watch these first few CT rounds and continue on with this. So a new one opening up in the cat, which, yeah, actually didn't see a lot of presence towards cat. I'm kind of surprised about it, honestly, now that I think about it. So much time in the jungle window area, not so much time on cat. So this is where you've got to reach a little bit extra on your playbook, try to come up with something new. And there have been a number of times where a late guy has come up with Cat. And Cat, I've talked about this so many times. It for me, is the strongest CT position on the map in terms of how many things you can help at once while also being relatively safe. Like Connector is the inverse of that. I mean, it's not the inverse. It's kind of very versatile as well, but it's a lot more dangerous, I would say, in terms of how many nades get directed in that towards it, especially because of how top mid comes out from the top left side. So everything kind of leans in towards Connector. The smoke blocks off vision to it, and people will throw mollies and nades to it from A ramp as well as there. But on Cat, you have ladder room. You have this nice fallback into B, which gets a lot less action than A site, a lot less lurky overall, and you have some great lines. Bench is a good counter to any kind of forward aggressive Cat presence. But now we peel back into a passive spot. As virtus.pro lose their opening. 25 seconds, not looking like a great round for them. Didn't have to do anything there. And we're going to try this tactic again. It hasn't worked out so well. Oh, one got fast up Cat. That's going to be called, so this is where you're kind of paying attention to the mini-map and see if they're going to get caught off guard. But the idea here is they're just planting seeds, so I think they have to be worried about ladder here. Yeah. virtus.pro just planting seeds, right? Just getting someone by. Now look how much it's affected the CT positions. So many resources dedicated to thinking about this. It slowed down everything. And they could actually come up Cat. So they throw market window smoke, which you throw from the B apps. I'm not sure if there's another one. And when you send the CT positions into disarray like that, that's when you actually get CTs into more passive spots, because it's harder to get set up safely into aggressive positions and to know where you can take space. So even that one move, that just getting that one guy up Cat just for a second, gets everybody into all these rotator positions where they have to just get smoked out, rotate more, and VP score a plant off it. And the entire time, they still haven't actually found that Cat guy. So I don't even know if he went back. That would have been too much if he hit that. Oh, the bench play. Well done, virtus.pro. Very tricky round. Okay, on to Cat again. I really want to see this get some action. One flash B. m0NESY going to walk back. They're rotating one over, so they're going to let m0NESY stay on mid. And again, they just got their B site defense weakened like crazy. But if you get that opening kill, you make some weird presence like we saw last round, you might be giving up your next advantage as well if you respond too heavily to that bit of presence, that opening kill. So I like this rotation from G2 actually, because not only are they reinforcing B a little bit, but they're being proactive and clearing out underpass. So now pressure is towards A. virtus.pro moving at a nice tempo off of this. This is where m0NESY could save the day. Oh my god. Wow. I'm not sure he saw anybody. But they, like I said, they actually have got one on underpass and rechecked B apps. So I think they feel pretty confident that there was an exec coming. Well, leave it to virtus.pro to not even commit here. But now it's a 4-on-4. I personally like G2's position a lot, but some would say it's kind of 50-50. Okay, the A exec's coming for sure now. Just waiting for that late flash. It's stopping the... Oh, it's so well timed. m0NESY dips out to the other side of the smoke and jacks from under Balk, man. He does it all. That's well done. Last guy in Palace. m0NESY gets the kill. Okay, my fault. All right. Okay, that's pretty good. That was a really good game. Yeah, let's take a look at the stats here so you can get an idea of what's going on. So first of all, born in 2005, ridiculous. They updated the pro settings page, which is very nice because I've been using this. It's not always the most up to date, but I don't go and check everybody's stream because not everybody streams and people change their settings all the time. But two things are for sure. I think, well, you know, view model Bob, I grab all that. This is his last month stats here. And what I was talking about earlier with the ratings, like this is not even an insignificant amount of maps. You know, you're always going to play less maps versus top 5 teams. So these stats can be inflated, but it's also top 5 teams. So it's kind of nuts. It actually cascades down, you know, versus some of the better players that he's played against. And a lot of these matches now are stage matches, which is actually so exciting. 3 full games, really quality opponents, 45 kills in his opening stage match versus Virtus.pro. He kind of just, you know, it's hard to be a m0NESY hater right now. He proved a lot. There was a number of things. Is he going to be good online versus good teams? Is he going to be good at a group stage on LAN? Is he going to be good on a tier 1 team where he has to juggle a million things? Is he going to be good on a tier 1 team on LAN in front of a crowd? And he has actually just gone through that entire list and just checked them off, you know, like casually. So looking solid. 2 games where he had 46 kills. It's just nuts, man. Now this one was like almost 2 full matches, to be fair, but yeah, he is he's looking good. That was a great one. Glad we watched that. Hope you enjoyed it. Next up's Broky. Stay tuned.
Big dog shit, got my paws all dirty. Looking for a plate, that's why the dogs up early.